If one were to pick up one chapter from the whole of Indian geography, from where maximum number of questions are asked in the preliminary examination for general studies, it has to be physiography. It has to be the physical features of India. Physiography happens to be the second type of a topic for the study of Indian geography. Second type means it has to be studied after the geology of India. After having obtained a basic information about how exactly India has evolved geologically. Physiography studies two components. One of them is the terrain of India, and the second one is about the entire of the relief. Relief means the difference between the highest and the lowest points. Physiography additionally also means the arrangement of the different type of features and the shape and size of the different type of features that forms the surface of the earth, and particularly in this case about India. So physiography all in all comprises three components. The first is the arrangement of the different type of physical features, mountains, plains, plateaus. The second is their relative heights, where exactly is their highest, where exactly is it at their lowest. The third is any exceptional feature associated with it, and maybe at an advanced stage certain causative aspects. That means how is it that these physiographic features may have formed. India is a marvel in terms of its physiography. In order to understand physiography, the most important aspect is to understand it completely and fully from the perspective of what a marvel India may have been. Now, just to think of the fact that the whole of Rajasthan was under sea at one point of a time. And at present, there are going to be several types of sand dunes. Some of these dunes in Jaisalmer can be as big as 70 meters high. And mind it, in November and December, when you go on during sunset in Jaisalmer, it is a sight to behold. Rajasthan had been such type of a marvel in the sense that the whole of the region along with the Arabian Peninsula had been under sea for a considerable period of a time. Aravalli had been another of them. Aravalli is a marvel largely because it is one of these few mountains in the whole of the world that is not only old, very, very old, when there was no life on the earth that had evolved. So Aravalli was one of these mountains which evolved when life was nowhere in sight, and that the batholiths of Aravalli, that means something that was some 5-6 kilometers beneath the Aravalli mountains and now exposed onto the surface. The whole of the Aravalli as a mountain has been completely eroded. The entire of the Aravalli mountains and the materials covering it has been completely eroded, and what is left behind is something that was beneath some 5 or 6 kilometers that has come onto the surface. Bundelkhand has been a region of volcanic activity. Can you imagine that Bundelkhand had been one of those regions that experienced the maximum amount of volcanic activity at one point of time, and all of these volcanoes were responsible for carving out different type of topographic features in this region. Some of them going to create a mound. This mound is going to be big enough in this case. So much so that it is indeed a very big mound of sorts. And whole of Bundelkhand mound was covered from every region by a sea. The place where the Vindhyan sediments are right now, the Vindhyan range that we're going to be calling it, and that was covered over an extensive period, and that it was indeed an extensive sea from every angle. And all of the Aravalli that got itself eroded, that got itself deposited in the form of the Vindhyan Sea, and that is what forms the Vindhyan sediments. And to think of the fact that Rajmahal Garo Gap, wherever it was, that means the entire region that lies between Rajmahal and that of Garo Mountains in northeastern region, there was a huge hillock. It was a massive hillock, and behind it was a lake, and over and above that a good number of water bodies went on to form, and these water bodies formed a waterfall, a series of waterfalls that may have been 24 to 170, 80 kilometers in length. There wouldn't have been, the whole of the world wouldn't have seen a waterfall that would have been as big as that. The place where the Deccan is now was having an amount of lava, and that is covered with the amount of lava. If that is spread through the whole of the world, that will go on to cover the entire of the world in about 1 meter thickness everywhere. The whole, every inch of the world will be covered under a minimum of 1 meter thickness of lava. The Western Ghats are a marvel because in Western Ghats you will go on to find a small peak and over which a massive rock lying. You will be bewildered to think, how is it that this rock is being balanced? This is Western Ghat. Himalayas had a series of volcanoes in that region. One of these volcanoes had been Kargil. Kargil Mountains had been a volcano. It is a paleo volcano, that means a past volcano. The second feature, exceptional feature of Himalaya that is not found anywhere is there are two bends. One of them is going to be in the northwestern part of the country, and another of them is going to be towards the northeastern part of the country. Towards the northwestern part lies a crack, and the hairpin like a bend. It is going to be such type of a bend, and again in the northeastern region is going to be again such type of a bend that is going to be found in that place. Now these type of bends are a hairpin type of bends, and Himalaya itself has been bending in an arc-like manner. Think, these bends are syntaxial bends. Again, it's an exceptional feature, and why the Himalayas are bend is because Himalayas are going to break along this bend, and when they will go on to break at any point of time, then the whole of the Gangetic Plain region will be completely deluged in this case. The Gangetic Plain will cease to have an existence then thereafter. Imagine the flow of Ganges. Ganges was never flowing into the Bay of Bengal region. Ganges was flowing into the Arabian Sea at one point of a time. And the place where the Gangetic Plain is, that was a place that was having a trench of sorts. It was a deep trough in that place. Such type of a deep trough has been completely filled up one by one, over and over, and it is this trough that has been filled up that has led to the evolution of it. Now this is what is the physiography of India, and these are the interesting aspects associated with the physiography of the country. Physiography is significant for some regions and for some certain regions. One of them is it's very important from the perspective of the examination. We're going to take into account certain questions that have been asked in the past. One of these questions have been consider the following statements. 1. Natural gas occurs in the Gondwana beds. The second, mica occurs in abundance in Koderma. Third was Dharwad is famous with petroleum. And the students were asked to mark out which of them is correct. 1 and 2, 2 only, 2 and 3, none of them. Now, that is a combination of two factors. There is what are the type of resources that are available, the geology as well as physiography. Three topics taken together and one question was framed out of it. A second question that has been framed out of it in this case has been that reads like, and in screen also. Recently, which of the following states has explored the possibility of constructing an artificial inland port to be connected to sea by a long navigational channel? That was, of course, the choice was Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Rajasthan. Of course, in this case, the answer was Rajasthan because it in Jalore that is built up and connecting with the Kutch region of Gujarat. That is again associated with physiography. Of course, it is associated with the current affairs section also. Then another of it was pure blue-blooded physiography section, that is consider the following statements. 1. In India, the Himalayas is spread over 5 states only. The second, Western Ghats is spread over 5 states only. Third, Pulicat Lake is spread over 2 states only. Out of which the students were asked to mark which of them are correct. Now that is an observation based question, but that is associated with a physiographic observation, that is how is it that the students go to perceive their physiography. The fourth such type of a question has been which of the following pairs of islands is separated from each other by 10-degree channel? Andaman and Nicobar, Nicobar and Sumatra, Maldives and Lakshadweep, Sumatra and Java. These were the different options that were given. And of course, these have been of the last 4 years, 5 years, 2013 to 2017. There are many more of these type of questions that are going to be coming into it. And this is only one chapter, that is associated with physiography, which has been asked. There are going to be many more of them that are likely to be asked. The possible questions that can be framed out of a physiography of India can go on to be many of them. The possible questions that can be asked from Himalayas, Peninsula and other regions can go on to be like, one of these questions that can be asked is going to be on the passes in the peninsula. For example, the one question that can be asked is near Khandwa Pass are likely to be two settlements. And there are two settlements. There is what are the two cities that lies near the Khandwa Pass? So of course it is going to be, one of them is going to be Khandwa Burhanpur. This is the twin city. Maybe the another question that is going to be asked to you is going to be, twin cities are likely to form on both the sides of a pass. Identify the pass which has led to the evolution of these type of twin cities. A second example can go on to be with respect to Satmala Hills. Satmala Hills literally means a mountain range that has 7 necklaces. And is it arranged in the form of a 7 necklace? Now the question that can be asked is, which is one of these mountain ranges that go on to be arranged in a form of 7 necklaces? Satmala. As the name suggests, Sat, that is 7 necklaces. Another of this question that can be framed is going to be arrangement of the peaks in the Himalayas. For example, it can be, anyone can be asked about the arrangement of Everest. It can be Makalu, it can be Kanchenjunga, or it can be even Gauri Shankar. The arrangement of these peaks from north to south or from east to west. It may be even the arrangement of certain peaks like Kalsubai, like Mount Abu, like it can go on to be Dora Beta or Kodaikanal, any one of these type of peaks for the hill regions. Now that is a potential and a possible question that can be framed out of it. The topic of physiography is significant not only because a lot of questions can be asked, and the potential of the questions asked is going to be variable, manifold of sorts. Physiography forms the base for every succeeding topic in Indian geography. Without it, very difficult to understand the location, very difficult indeed. Without it, it's very difficult to understand the climate. Why? Because it is physiography in some places that determines the climate of a place. Maybe it is going to be Chail in Madhya Pradesh, Shimla, Manali, Ladakh. Why Ladakh is a desert? Or why is it that there is so much amount of rain in on the slopes of the Uttarakhand mountains? Why is it so that Rajasthan can go on to be so hot and dry? It's associated with physiography partly. Why is it that Ladakh is so significant physiographically for the whole of the world is associated with its physiography? Vegetation has its direct and indirect influence with the physiography because the height and the elevation actually goes on to determine physiography. And how is it that it goes on to determine physiography? Is because of the factor that is, as you go on to go high up, the temperature keeps on increasing, decreasing, and in some places maybe there is going to be only a clump of a tree that is going to be found in that place. That's going to be one component of it, vegetation. And then we are talking about ecology. That is, we are going to be talking about ecology in the sense that it's the ecology of a region, whether it is going to be in sunshade or it is going to be in sunshine region, whether it goes to be the southern facing slope or it is going to be the northern facing slope. In any case, in both of these cases, it is these aspects that determine how ecologically compatible the region will be and what will be its ecological characteristics. It's physiography that determines the ecology of that region also. Without a study of the physiography, it will be difficult to understand a lot of things. For example, it will be difficult to understand why floods take place. The cause of flood in Brahmaputra region is because of physiography. The cause of flood in Rajasthan is because of physiography. The cause of flood in some places like that of the coastal regions of Pulicat, maybe Chilika Lake, is going to be because of physiography. In some places, physiography determines the type of a drought that is taking place. For example, the whole of the interior of the peninsula that lies in the lee of the Sahyadris or the Western Ghat is going to be drought affected only because of this factor. Also, we are also going to be talking about the distribution of water resources is associated with physiography. Why? Because it is physiography, like physiographic features like that of whether it is Bhabar or it is going to be Tarai, or it is going to be some of those plain regions that determine how much amount of water that the region goes on to have in itself. Physiography has determined the flow of the irrigation canals. Gangetic region is going to be good in terms of irrigation canals only because of one region, and that region is because of the fact that the whole of the Gangetic region is sloping in a certain direction. Physiography has determined dryland farming and the type of a dryland farming, that is the how and what type of a farming has been done in that place, and what has been the significance of certain type of a farming in that region. So, physiography determines everything that a candidate requires to study, whether it is going to be the name of the rivers, whether it is going to be irrigation, agriculture, industry, resource distribution, as well as certain type of a planning aspect. Physiography also determines, it's a chapter that forms the base for other subjects as well. For example, it has a very, very close relationship with history. Now think of it. We are talking about a question that can be asked, and we are talking about that aspect also. That is, why is it that the Central Asian invaders went on to win the first war with the Rajputs in India? It was simple. Simple in the sense that is, Rajputs fought this war into the Malwa Plateau terrain. The Malwa Plateau terrain that is going to be around Udaipur and so on, all of this region, that was covered with a lava flow. So it was having a rolling surface. The Rajputs fought this war sitting on the top of an elephant whose maneuverability was very, very low. Also, that not only their maneuverability was very low, also that all of these type of animals used to be having a very, very sluggish movement in this region as well. And when they used to be having such type of sluggish movement, then there are two components of it. There is Rajputs were taken aback, while the movement of the Central Asian invaders was on horses. Of course, they were armed with a lot of other things as well, and they were on horses, so their maneuverability was of a very, very high caliber. And because their maneuverability was of a very high caliber, that allowed them to have a major score over the Rajputs in this case. It is physiography that has determined the migration of the people. That is, why is it that some people from India never migrated and conquered the whole of the world is associated with its physiography. They have not been able to migrate and they have not been able to conquer the whole of the world because of one simple reason. There have been so much amount of plain, there has been so much amount of water available, there has been so much amount of fertility and fertile soil in that region, that people never felt the need for going out from India at all. And because they never felt the need for going out from India, consequently all of them remained here. So while the British conquered the whole of the world because their internal condition was very, very inconducive to it, so they spread themselves out in every place of the whole of the world. Migration was induced because of physiography. Additionally, some of these water bodies, like two of the largest freshwater wetlands in Asia, Kabar and Kolleru. Kabar in Bihar, Kolleru is going to be in Andhra Pradesh, that lies between two deltas, that is of Krishna and as well as Godavari, both of them. That is because of physiography. Kabar is a lake that has been an abundant trough that has been formed by the Ganges. So the Ganges at one point of time went on to form a oxbow lake that was a loop, it went on to abandon later on, and because it abandoned one of these loops, that loop still has some amount of water, and this water gets itself filled up with the rains surrounding it, and that is what has formed one of the largest freshwater wetlands in the whole of India. Physiography has this relationship. Physiography has relationship with science and technology. Physiography has relationship with certain things that we are experimenting in science and technology. For example, physiography is connected with why is it that Hassan has been one of these ISRO's receiving stations, and one of these stations that has its own telescope. This is largely because Hassan is very high up, it's very dry. Consequently, the sky is very, very clean in that place. And because the sky is clean, you can go to have a telescope in that place. And the same is the condition that is going to be also observable in Mahendragiri, that is in Odisha. And we have a telescope in that region. We have a space observatory station also in that place, only because of one factor. And that factor has been, simply speaking, a very high altitude over which there is a minimal amount of moisture content, and because this moisture is going to be so low that the sky is very visible, very, very clean in that place. Chilka Lake and the regions around Chilka Lake has been used for the purpose of missile launching stations, particularly Balasore on Sea or Baleshwar on Sea, in around that place, largely because the sea is completely open in front of it, completely open. If you take a look at the location of the Chilka Lake, then from India it goes on to open a lot of things in this case. That's another been. Thumba has been on magnetic equator. Consequently, Thumba has been on. It has one of these stations in this case. It has relationship with disaster management as well. Why is it that some of the disasters strike some of the regions and some regions are not struck by disasters? Is associated with the physiography. And how is it going to be associated with physiography? It is associated with physiography largely because in places like that of North Bihar, where the water table is going to be very, very high, in such type of place where the water table is always going to be very high, then the flowing water will never be able to find itself percolating as much as it requires to be. Consequently, with a small amount of rain, it goes on to flood. It does go on to get flooded because of this factor. Physiography has a lot of close relationship with the economy. Economy, for example, one of these most important aspects as to with economy has been that of Deccan basalt, Deccan coast, Deccan region. Deccan region has been covered with a black soil region. It's a black basalt. The basalt has given rise to formation of a black soil. It is this black soil that is responsible for and that is significant from the perspective of a soil. It is this soil that has been very, very, very significant from the point of view of cotton cultivation. Similarly, as you can go to find in Telangana region, there are going to be many tanks. Why is it that there are going to be many tanks in that place? That is, it is going to be having many tanks largely because there are going to be a lot of bowl-shaped depressions left on the surface. So there are going to be a bowl-shaped depression in one place, another place, another place. Golconda is going to be one around it. There is one in the center of Hyderabad as well. That is, we are talking about the Hussain Sagar reservoir in that place. And all of those tanks, anywhere that they're going to evolve in the Deccan region, is because of the existence of such type of bowl-shaped depression. That is a product of his physiography. Physiography also has a very close correlationship with the culture of any region, and it has been so. For example, as you will go to observe it, the availability of marble in Rajasthan has been so significant that it has shaped the future of the artisan industry in Rajasthan. That is, what people are going to do is that they confine themselves in the rooms in the summer season, pick up some of these soft marbles and then carve out certain intricate type of features from that place. That has been Rajasthan. Then pick up the case from Ramnagaram, that is going to be near to Bangalore, and it is one of those places where Sholay was shot. Now that is going to be one of these toy capitals of the whole of Asia. There is no place as significant in the whole of Asia, Ramnagaram in Karnataka, near to that place. Now that is largely because it has a type of a terrain that makes it so. It has a type of a terrain that has allowed also to be shot for maybe one of these locations in the whole of the country that has been shot for the maximum films in the whole of the region. Now that is because of the physiography. Makarana marbles have been used for the purpose of construction of Taj Mahal, and not to speak about Mirzapur. The availability of kaolin in Mirzapur has been one of these factors that has shaped the future of the kaolin industry. That means everything that is made of what we're going to be calling it chini mitti. That has been a factor. So physiography is the chapter to study in the whole of Indian geography, and its significance lies in the fact that without a study of physiography, there is no way anyone can go on to study Indian geography at all.